much excuse where none could be for others who thus break their vows. So there's a lot of interesting stuff happening here. First of all, the fact that they are picking up they've kind of escalating into a full-blown affair, and it's happening in the woods makes sense, because woods are the outdoors, woods, hunting, this all has the element of wildness, looseness, but also openness, as opposed to an interior space, which might be more formal and have the overtones of something that's furtive. And then I think that the way that the narrator is editorializing here is very interesting, because it's a 19th century interpretation, right? And clearly to the narrator, the worst possible, the sin that has to be excused is the adultery, right? Dark and wild, lawless, dishonorable. That's the adultery. But kind of to more modern eyes, the excuse that the narrator gives them, which is, don't judge them for their adultery because they've been drugged. I think that for a modern reader, we might have a more difficult time with the fact that they've been drugged and are, maybe being coerced into this, these feelings, than the fact that they are being unfaithful. Especially because it's a political marriage. But, mores change. Anyway, ere long the nobles, who still hated Tristram, grew to suspect his love and whispered of it to Mark. The king for long would not believe it, for well he loved and trusted both wife and nephew. But on a day, a jealous knight brought Mark where he might see Tristram and Iseult seated under a tree together, close by the murmuring stream. After that, there was no longer room for doubt. King Mark called together his council and sought to have Tristram condemned to death. But this, though they hated him, his nobles and his knights would not permit. For none there was so mighty as Tristram, and no man so fit to save Cornwall in times of need. Moreover, the people loved him, and had he been put to death, civil war might have broken out. So King Mark banished Sir Tristram, sent him out of Cornwall and far from Lyonesse, so far from Iseult the Fair that hardly might he ever see her again. And he wanders now through all the land of Britain, seeking for the comfort that he cannot find, wandering in minstrel's garb and singing, ever singing, the song of his love. I'm not going to sing it, but I'll tell you, here's the words. Here's the song of his love. Iseult of the Emerald Isle, still I seek you, mile on mile, through the wide world following love, a white bird on the wing. Iseult, though the world wax old, never shall our love grow cold. Still, while youth and spring are sure, lives our love and shall endure. Iseult, in the aftertime, poets shall fit the rhyme, tell of love beyond compare, Tristram and Iseult the Fair. The minstrel ceased from his tale, and a great silence was over all who sat in the great hall at Camelot. Only Lancelot bowed his head in his hands, and the tears ran between his fingers as he thought of his own love for Guinevere, for Arthur's queen. Minstrel, said King Arthur presently, how comes it that you know so well all things that have befallen Sir Tristram of Lyonesse? The minstrel smiled sadly as he rose from the stool and stood, tall and noble, before King Arthur. I knew it well, he said, right well indeed, even as a man knows of his own sorrow. For, dun dun dun, I am Tristram of Lyonesse. There was a little murmur through the hall at this, of wonder and of pity, but King Arthur rose from his seat and came down to Tristram and greeted him. Okay, all parts of this are hilarious. I mean, all parts of this they're hilarious. First of all, if you have not picked up on the fact that the minstrel telling the story is Tristram, then, wake up, smell the roses. It's him. And it also kind of explains, not only do we have a modern narrator who's editorializing the story, with these 19th century morals, but also the framework of the story is that it's a minstrel telling the story to King Arthur and his knights, and the minstrel is Tristram. So, like, of course he's, giving excuses right and left for why it's morally acceptable that he had an affair. It also lends kind of a sheen of hilarity to how he's been describing Tristram as so handsome, so brave, the most flattering possible explanation of why he wasn't jailed and killed. Why was he just exiled? It's not because King Mark was merciful, even though, his nephew is sleeping with his wife. No. It's because Tristram, is just so brave and beloved by everybody that it would be, would cause political instability to kill him. So it lends the narrative up until this point. It casts it in a very self-serving air. And we've had all these hints, right? Tristram, what role did he have in, Isolde's household? He gave her harp lessons, right? He's a musician. We've known he's a musician for a long time. The other part of this that is just very comical to me, if, the mental image that I have is like, here's Tristram telling the story about, a handsome young guy having an affair with an older guy's wife. And sitting right there is Lancelot and King Arthur. And Lancelot is openly weeping, like head in hand, tears coming out of his face of like, this is the most moving and touching and like relatable thing that I've ever seen. And King Arthur is both like absolutely stunned that, dun dun dun, the big reveal, Tristram, the minstrel is Tristram, and also like, I don't know, like how he's perceiving, Lancelot's emotional reaction to this. Maybe he just thinks that, Lancelot is just like a very emotional audience. I don't know. King Arthur is showing like a lot of cluelessness here. Anyway, here's Arthur's welcome. Right welcome are you to Camelot, he said. Welcome indeed to me and to all this fellowship of the Round Table. Your name was spoken to us by Merlin, the wise enchanter, on the day of the making of the table. And see, there is a seat at it for you, yonder siege beside Lancelot, where your name grows even now in letters of gold. Welcome, true knight of Logres. And so Sir Tristram became a knight of the Round Table. And after Lancelot and Gawain, there was no knight so worthy to sit there as he. For many years he came on every feast of Pentecost to take his place at the board, and many were the mighty deeds which he wrought for Logres. But always he sorrowed for the love of Isolde the fair, with a love and with a sorrow that no time might heal. After some years he was married to another Isolde, the daughter of Javelin the Duke of Arundel, who was called Isolde of the White Hands. And she brought him much comfort, and he was a true and noble husband to her. Yet ever his heart turned toward Isolde the Queen of Cornwall, wherefore Isolde of the White Hands was jealous at heart. So a little bit to pull apart here. First of all, he marries somebody with the same name, but his girlfriend that he had the adulterous affair with, Isolde the Fair, this is a nickname that literally means like Isolde the Beautiful, / very pale, Isolde the Fair. And then so he's got like the girlfriend, Isolde the Good Looking, and then his wife is basically nicknamed Isolde the Other One. So that's terrible. And I also want to, highlight how it draws a distinction here. It both says that he's a true and noble husband and that he's emotionally unfaithful to her, right? So true and faithful here doesn't mean that he loved her. It just means that he's not actively having a physical affair with Isolde the Good Looking. At last, anyway, wherefore, just as a sidebar, wherefore doesn't mean where, it always means why. So when it says, wherefore Isolde of the White Hands was jealous at heart, it means, this is why she was jealous. Like, of course she's jealous. Wouldn't you be jealous if your spouse's, flame had your first name, but, good looking? And, yeah. I just don't have a huge amount of sympathy for Tristram at this point in the story. At last, Tristram was wounded with a poisoned spear as he fought to save Cahaden, his wife's brother, and the wound festered and might not be cured. I just apologize for my pronunciation of basically all the names here. I'm doing the best I can. Then Tristram said, "My death is upon me, unless Iseult of Cornwall comes to my aid, for she alone has all the skill which was her mother's," because remember that her mother was a great healer. So he bade the faithful Cornwall to take ship and set sail to Tintagel to beg Iseult to come and cure him. And if she would come, Cornwall was to hoist a white sail on his ship as he returned, but a black sail if she would not come. So, there's a long maritime tradition of hoisting up different sails, banners, flags, to communicate things to people on shore. I find this very, very moving. If you live in any place that has a maritime history, this is an interesting thing to learn about. Definitely there's precedent in mythology of different people signaling by a white sail or a black sail death. I'm thinking of what's his face, so I can't stand, coming back from having fought the Minotaur, Theseus. Oh, can't stand Theseus. Anyway, that's a precedent in mythology of putting up the sail. But basically, if she can come, white sail. She can't come, black sail. Iseult of Cornwall came with all the speed she might, and Cornwall hoisted the white sail. But Tristram lay upon his bed, so weak that he could not rise and look out from his window. Then he said to his wife, "Go now and look out to sea. Cornwall's ship will soon be nearing the land with Iseult the Fair aboard, should the sail be white. But there will be a black sail if she will not come." So very, very dramatic. He's on his deathbed. His window overlooks the sea. His last chance is that his true love, right, the woman that he had the adulterous affair with, if she's come to save him with her healing powers. And who does he send to go be the lookout? His wife, right? Wife, please go to the window and see if the other woman who I actually love, if she's on her way, because that's who I really want to see in this situation, even though you've probably been nursing me faithfully. Then Iseult of the White Hands looked out over the sea and saw the ship of Cornwall flying over the waves with all its white sails set. But in her jealousy and her hatred for Iseult of Cornwall, she said to Tristram, "Lo now, I see Cornwall's ship sailing heavily through the waves, and the sails are all black." Then Tristram turned his face to the wall. "God keep you, my love, Iseult the Fair," he said, "for I shall not look upon your face again." Then he ceased to struggle for his life, and in a few minutes Tristram of Lyonesse was dead. And when Iseult the Fair, Queen of Cornwall, found him dead, she knelt at his side until her heart broke for very sorrow, and she died also, and they were buried in one grave. For Iseult of the White Hands repented of her jealousy when it was too late. And over the grave she planted 2 roses, one red and one white. And as they grew, the 2 trees leant over the grave towards one another, and their branches twined together, and they grew into one tree, bearing roses both red and white. For never in all the world have there been 2 such faithful lovers as Sir Tristram of Lyonesse and Iseult the Fair. So, there you have it. Tragic, doomed love. One of my favorite stories. I hope you enjoyed it. Lady Splaney out.